What does my next guest make of this claim? Former National Security Advisor to Vice President Mike Pence, General Keith Kellogg, joins me now. General Kellogg, were they perfectly reasonable that our top military leader would contact his Chinese counterpart and say, I'll let you know if we're going to attack?
Hey, Charles, thanks for having me today. The quick answer is nope. Look, we've had some bad weeks with American national security. You know, yesterday the French recalled their ambassador. That's the first time that's ever happened in American history because Biden didn't pick up the phone and called President Macron on a sub-deal involving the Australians. Then we had that disastrous briefing yesterday by CENTCOM and General McKenzie talking about a drone strike that didn't kill 2 ISIS-K planners, but instead killed an aid worker and 7 children. Then we had the debacle at the airport where we lost 13 dead and 20 wounded, and we lost a war we fought for 20 years. The Taliban government in charge now is worse than the Taliban government that was in charge 20 years ago. And compounding all of this, we have a chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff who forgot what Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution says, and that there's a unitary commander-in-chief. He's a civilian, he happens to be the President of the United States, and went out on his own and made some calls, apparently, to the Chinese. Look, that's not his lane. His lane is to be the principal military advisor to the President of the United States, to the Secretary of Defense, and the National Security Council. That's it. And he needs to inform them all when he is conducting business with foreign nationals, especially a nation like China, which, you know, brought us the famous COVID going forward. And I know he didn't talk to any of us because I was in the White House when all that was going on. And compounding that is that it was done, the latest call was done on the 8th of January. We all know what was happening in the United States at that time, and his call signified weakness, and that we are a nation in disarray. That was the furthest from the truth that you could go. I was there. We were working fine. Was the president mad on the 6th of January? Yeah. You get mad, I get mad, we all get mad. But the government was operating in a very fine fashion. I've been with the president.
There's a
Charles,
report out, General. Let me pick up on this because you're making, and I don't want to jump on you here, but you've made some great points. I just want to kind of get a little granular while we have the time.
Yeah.
Did you ask President Trump to intervene at any point on January 6th? There are some reports out there saying that you did.
Yeah, we did. Well, there was more than myself was in the Oval Office with him. There was Kaylee was in there. Mark Meadows was in there. Pat Cipollone, the lawyer, was in there. We were all talking. We were all making recommendations on how to go forward on the 6th of January. And I was in there. And we all made recommendations. And when I saw that article come out, it was really like, okay, Kellogg was the only guy saying something. That's not true. It was a team effort. It's always a team effort. Unlike President Biden, when he was up at Camp David by himself, when there was a crisis in the White House, everybody would collapse in to the president because that was our job, to give him our best advice.
Right. Now, of course, we do know President Trump was well known for asking for the advice of everyone in the room, so that would make sense. This drone strike news yesterday, I got to tell you, it was heartbreaking. It really was. This whole thing didn't sound right from the very beginning because they wouldn't name who these ISIS-K leaders were that they killed. It felt like there was a lot of political pressure after 13 servicemen and women were killed in a botched retreat, and so it felt like a knee-jerk reaction. And to your point, 10 people, 7 children. How does that change our image around the world, particularly in the Middle East?
Well, here's what it sends. It sends a message that we really don't have our act together in operational matters. But more importantly, it sends a message forward that our senior leaders don't know what's going on. Remember, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff went in front of the American people and said it was a righteous kill. Remember that? And there were secondary explosions. All of it was wrong. And they've known this for a few days. Isn't it interesting that that briefing was held on a Friday when virtually everybody was out of town and was just flat wrong? They knew about that. They knew they didn't have the right chatter going forward. It was a bad shot, a bad kill, and the chairman shouldn't have called it righteous.
Yeah, and I really wish President Biden would have made that announcement to the world, not giving it to General McKenzie. I've got less than a minute to go. Let's get back to this France situation with the submarine. Obviously, they feel slighted. They had this big contract. And to your point, no one said anything. No one bothered to pick up the phone. I did not realize it was the very first time they'd ever pulled their ambassador from the United States. What happens from here?
Well, he's going to have to pick up the phone and call President Macron, and it's going to be a very, very frank discussion. I've been on several calls with President Trump and President Macron, and it was a great relationship between the two. In fact, there were times I thought it was like an older brother and a younger brother relationship, and they were always kidding with each other, always talking with each other. President Biden has broken that relationship. That's the oldest diplomatic relationship that this nation has had. They've never pulled an ambassador before. So he's going to have to pick up the phone. Instead of being up on a vacation, he should have already called Macron and said what's going on.
Yeah.
He shouldn't leave that to Tony Blinken. He shouldn't leave that to his national security advisor. That's his job as president.
General Kellogg, thank you very much, and thank you for your service. Up next, folks, the United States actually closed